So in this session we will discuss the issue of onset of monsoon, and along with that we will also see the withdrawal of monsoon. So if you have witnessed in 2020, the withdrawal of monsoon took place on 28th of October, so which is really very late, so almost in winter, right? In other parts it was almost winter. So there have been some changes regarding dates which have been proposed by Indian Meteorological Department. So we will see what those changes are from, say, June to October period. So dates have been revised, and also if you have seen last few years there have been contrasting opinion regarding the onset of monsoon. So there are two agencies, one is Indian Meteorological Department and another is some private agencies. So private agencies you can take as Skymet or any other agency, right? So there have been multiple occasions when there was contravention of opinion or different opinion regarding the onset of monsoon over country or over a particular region. So we will see how onset of monsoon is declared over country, over India, right? And then we will also see how for particular regions onset of monsoon can be declared. Fine. And after that we will finally see withdrawal of monsoon, what are the conditions for withdrawal of monsoon, and we will end with the new dates of withdrawal of monsoon. We will also see what necessitated the new dates to come, right? So I have these two articles you can read. IMD Skymet weather differ on monsoon arrival. Fine. So this is in 2020. Similar article I have for Mumbai. So this is for Kerala when monsoon hits India. So there was difference of opinion between IMD and Skymet regarding whether monsoon really has hit Kerala coast or it hasn't. Then similar kind of controversy occurred in 2019 as well, and there was difference of opinion on onset of monsoon in Mumbai. Fine. Now dates have also have been revised. So this is third article I have pinned. So that is why we will be discussing onset of monsoon. Also one important point we need to note is that when it comes to geography optional paper 2, UPSC tends to ask questions from contemporary issues, right? And this onset of monsoon is somewhat a contemporary issue, we can say. What necessitates us to take this issue is that in 2017 and in 2018 there was a question on unusual rainfall which occurred in 2017, and in 2018 there was one more question on the erratic nature of monsoon. So even in 2018 there were some issues with the rainfall of monsoons, and that is why UPSC tends to ask question on monsoon every year. And since this issue is like in current, that is why we will study it, right? So why to bother about the onset dates of monsoon? Say this is the single largest issue, so you can like let it go, it comes and go, you may never want to bother about it, but there are certain issues, that is why we need to bother about the onset dates of monsoon. So when it comes to agriculture sowing activity is clearly dependent upon the onset of monsoon, right? So more than 50% of Indian agriculture is rain-fed agriculture. Fine. So in northern areas there is some irrigation, a good proportion of irrigation, but some parts of Deccan and other parts they do not have really such capacity of irrigation. So that is why this activity of sowing is a lot dependent upon the onset of monsoon. So what happens is sometimes that there is general date of onset of monsoon, say 1st of June, and generally in Maharashtra it reaches on 6th of June. So 1st of June is in Kerala and 6th of June is in Maharashtra, right? So farmers would presume that monsoon would hit the Maharashtra on 6th of June itself. So accordingly they would plan their agriculture calendar. Fine. So maybe as per their assessment they would do some sowing and they will wait for rainfall. Fine. So once you sow the seed, it immediately needs a rainfall in next, say, a week at least. Means if rainfall occurs in a week, that is a good say, but at least in a fortnight there should be a good amount of rainfall after sowing is done. But what happens is that not always monsoon hits Maharashtra on 6th of June, and if this sowing is done before 6th of June and if rainfall is getting delayed for more than say week, so damage would start. So whatever seeds have been sown, they would start to rot or they would start to dry, and again if those seeds are wasted, the farmers would need to resow the land. Fine. So that is one part in agriculture. Also there are every crop has its own cycle, which starts with rainfall and then which ends with rainfall. So almost all of the agricultural activities have to be dependent upon the agriculture, and that is why the forecasting of monsoon and onset of monsoon is really very important. Fine. So this is one aspect. So for agriculture we need to know exact dates of onset of monsoon. As exact it is beneficial for agriculture. Similarly we have to assess rainfall pattern, right? So again I'll take this year's example. In the month of June, western coast of India was hit by cyclone Nisarga, right? Rainfall in India starts somewhere around 1st of June, but in the region which was hit by cyclone, there it starts say some 10th of June or so. But before 10th of June, a lot of rainfall had already occurred because of cyclone Nisarga. So there was copious amount of rainfall in Mumbai and along adjoining western coast. So then there is monsoon rainfall, and then there is this western disturbances, right? So this is in the winter season. Fine. So let us not consider this particular part. So it may happen that because of monsoon Nisarga, there was copious amount of rainfall, and that would come under the assessment of the monsoon rainfall. Fine. So that is why we need to really delineate. So this Nisarga, the rainfall which occurred because of Nisarga, this only occurred this year. So it is not that such cyclones or such strong cyclones would come every single year and hit a particular region and give copious amount of rainfall. So that is really not going to happen. It only happened this year. So that is why we need to really know the range for which we have to calculate the monsoon rainfall. Fine. So that is another part. And then finally there is a part of planning and management. So what goes in planning and management, that there are agencies which manage dam. So they have to ensure that the dam does not hit the dead storage. So if dam hits dead storage, then a real problem starts to occur, because after that it really cannot supply water. Fine. So a lot of cities, they depend on dam water for their domestic water consumption purpose. So if a dam it hits a dead storage, then there are a lot of problems coming up with it. So for that particular purpose, these dam management agencies need to know when onset of monsoon will take place, because only after the onset of monsoon these dams would start to refill. So accordingly they plan their water consumption and they provide the supply. So that is one reason why we see that there is scarcity, limited supplies sometimes in summer season. So similarly there is like construction. If you take construction industry in your viewpoint, the construction activities are very much dependent upon the weather. So if there is say road construction is going on, and then there is all before the onset of monsoon, before the onset of heavy rainfall, what these agencies do, they mop up all the activities which are going to get affected by the rainfall. So that is why for all those purpose we need to know the onset of monsoon in advance. So that is why onset of monsoon is really very important for our day-to-day life. Now we will see the conditions for the onset of monsoon. So when we are saying conditions for the onset of monsoon, there are two parts to it. First is we declare onset of monsoon in India when monsoon hits Kerala. So one condition is for that Kerala coast, right? And then there is another condition, and they are for particular regions at say district level. So every district is mapped in a grid, and accordingly, not say exactly district, but a couple of district or region, they have their own conditions. When they are fulfilled, then only that particular region is considered to be hit by monsoon. Fine. So then we will be studying that also. So first and foremost, how we declare that there has been onset of monsoon over Kerala coast. So we will keep watching rainfall activity after 10th of May. There are some 14 stations. in Kerala which have been identified for the purpose of monitoring. If out of these 14 stations, some 60 stations, they satisfy these two following conditions. There is condition number 1, that is rainfall of 2.5 millimeter, and that rainfall had to be for more than 2 consecutive days. So if these two conditions are fulfilled for, like, say, there are 14 stations. Out of these 14 stations, 60 stations have to meet these two conditions, and if this happens, then only we declare that there is onset of monsoon over Kerala. So this is part 1. One more interesting part in this, rainfall of 2.5 millimeter. So IMD declares a day as a rainy day only if rainfall exceeds 2.5 millimeter, right? And that is why we are considering that particular part. Now this is part number 1. There is one more story to this. So we have to see the depth of westerlies, which has to be maintained for up to the height of 600 HPA in the box of equator, that is 10 degrees north and 55 degrees east to 88 degrees. So this is fairly a technical part, so if you can remember it, that's good. If you cannot, even then it is fine, right? So then there is also a speed of winds. So once monsoon winds are set in, we have to gauge the depth of those winds and the speed of those winds. So that is part number 2. Now third part is there, that when we are saying ongoing long wave radiation, so with this particular condition we try to identify the cloud cover, right? We'll see how we are identifying cloud cover, and if that cloud cover is satisfactory, then only we will see that there is onset of monsoon. So there is inside satellites ongoing long wave radiation value, if it is below 200 watt per meter square in the given box. So this is again latitudes not very important. If there is this condition satisfied, then only we will see that there is onset of monsoon. So why we are saying that there should be, like, we are gauging ongoing long wave radiation. So just imagine if you are standing here, there is radiation going back to the space. So I guess you are knowing that what I am saying. And if there are clouds, certainly this is inside satellite, so this particular satellite would measure the outgoing radiations, and if they are less than 200 watt meter per square, it can be assumed that there is sufficient cloud cover, right? The thickness of cloud is so sufficient that it will result in a lot of rainfall, and that is how we can declare the onset of monsoon. So that particular part goes into the declaration of onset of monsoon, and if all these 3 conditions are satisfied, then only we declare monsoon over the Kerala coast. So this is part number 1. Now as monsoon progresses, there is another story to this. So if you can see here, this particular tiny dot here, we have already declared onset of monsoon, right? The earlier conditions which we have said. Now rest of the country is divided into 3 types. One is in blue shade, another is in green shade, and rest of the part is in blue shade, right? And for all these 3 typical areas, or 3 types of grids or grid points, there are certain conditions. So we are not going to go into in all those conditions, because those are again technical in nature, right? So only remember that whole country is divided into 3. There are certain grids, so you can see that all of the country, it is divided into small grids. So they are generally from the level of district to a particular region, maybe couple of districts or so, not more than that. So, and each particular area, so if you have a grid in which is shaded blue, it will have its own condition. If those conditions are satisfied, then only the local meteorological department, so every district has a local agency of meteorological department, so they will declare that there is onset of monsoon in this particular area. Fine. So that is another part to it. So I hope all this discussion you can understand how onset of monsoon is declared in India. One we have seen that on Kerala coast, and another we have seen in rest of the country. So now there are new dates of advance of monsoon. We can see that these dates are there. Then we will also see comparatively what dates are provided finally. So we will take this part in the later discussion. So now let us understand what are the conditions for the withdrawal of monsoon. So we earlier have understood the conditions for onset of monsoon. Now we will see the conditions for withdrawal of monsoon. So when we are saying withdrawal of monsoon, so earlier we have seen, say, let us say this is India. I'm just roughly drawing it. We have declared onset from here, that is Kerala coast. Fine. So when we have declared onset from Kerala coast, the withdrawal is declared or withdrawal is observed from northwestern India, that is the region of Rajasthan and Haryana, Punjab, that particular region. We continuously observe that particular region. When we are saying withdrawal of monsoon, if those conditions, if these following conditions are satisfied in that particular region, then only we declare that there is a withdrawal of monsoon taking place in the given region, right? So as is again written here, withdrawal from extreme northwestern parts of the country is not attempted before 1st of September. So earlier we have seen that when we are discussing the onset of monsoon, we were considering the there is the cutoff date, that is 10th of May. So whatever rainfall we are observing, we are observing only after 10th of May. So if after 10th of May there is rainfall, we will observe it, and then only we will see whether onset of monsoon conditions are met or they are not, right? So that is from onset of monsoon. Similarly, we have date for withdrawal of monsoon. So we continually observe the monsoon activity from 1st of September, right? So if after 1st of September, if following conditions are met, so conditions are cessation of rainfall activity over the area for continuous 5 days. So for continuous 5 days there is no rainfall. This is part number 1. Now establishment of anticyclone in the lower troposphere. So that is 850 HPA and below. So 850 HPA is nothing but we are measuring atmospheric pressure, and that generally exists at the height of say 1.5 kilometers. So this is 850 HPA is the atmospheric pressure at the height of 1.5 kilometers, and another important part too is a majority of the atmospheric phenomena exist up to this particular part, this particular altitude, right? So at this altitude, so atmospheric phenomena do not generally exceed beyond this particular altitude. That is why we are saying 850 HPA. Fine. So if anticyclone in the lower troposphere is established and then there is no rainfall for continuous 5 days and there is a considerable reduction in moisture content, this is seen from the satellite. So satellites observe water vapor and then we arrive at a conclusion that there is withdrawal of monsoon has started or not. So you might have also noticed that when onset of, or just a couple of days before onset of monsoon, whether around the region you are residing, the weather starts to get very moist, so बहुत चिपचिपा हो जाता है सब, right? So similarly when there is withdrawal, there will be a lot of dryness in the weather. So that is what we particularly observe. Fine. Now there is further withdrawal from the country. So further withdrawal from the country is declared, keeping the spatial continuity and reduction in moisture, right? Again, wherever withdrawal is being announced, there should be no rainfall for 5 consecutive days. So these are the conditions for it, right? And once withdrawal takes place, there is a significant change in the direction of wind. So southwest monsoon is from the southern peninsula and hence from the entire country only after 1st of October it is withdrawn. So these dates have changed. We will see what these new dates are when the circulation pattern indicates a change over the southwesterly wind regime. So we will also see what we are saying, that there is withdrawal of monsoon. So if I can show you, I will show you some graphics. I'll also give you a link of those graphics. You can very well understand how this wind pattern exists. So if I may, okay, so if you can see, this is the condition when there is monsoon rainfall, right? So there is a marked pattern of winds. This is equator, these are southeasterly trades. They are, you can see they are crossing equator and then they are hitting Indian coast, right? So this is the well marked formation of monsoon winds, that is we have seen. Now there are, when withdrawal takes place, these particular winds which are hitting the Indian coast and Indian landmass, they are no more there. So there is significant reversal of winds. So I'll also show you that particular part. Just a minute. Okay. Okay, let us now see new dates of monsoon withdrawal. So we'll see it in comparison, right? So what has necessitated us to consider new dates for monsoon? So in last few years there has been change in the precipitation pattern. So in last 13 years only once has the onset of monsoon over the Kerala coast happened on the June 1. Similarly, withdrawal time has been on time only twice. So this is one more fact which we are considering. And in last year withdrawal started as late as October 29. So even in this year withdrawal only happened on 28th of October. So as per new parameters, we are considering withdrawal to be on 15th October, and actual withdrawal this year was on, sorry, there is like a lot of crackers. So withdrawal took place on 28th of October. Fine, so this is fairly like almost 15 days late. Then there is also regional variation in rainfall pattern. Then there are extreme wet days, extreme dry days. So you must have learned this particular part, so I assume. Fine, so these are some issues which we need to consider, and that is why we have decided to have new dates for the onset and withdrawal of monsoon. Now this is comparative map where we have shown that what were the earlier dates of onset of monsoon, and then we also have shown what are the new dates of monsoon. So in the end we will just summarize things, because nobody is really going to ask you such a point to point comparison of those dates, because it is difficult to remember, right? So we will just see summary what has actually happened. So these are new dates of onset of monsoon. So onset, when we are saying onset, there are, again I forgot to tell you that we consider onset of monsoon over Andaman as well, right? So onset of monsoon over Andaman is on 22nd of May. Then when it hits Indian landmass, 1st of June. So that again last date was also 1st of June. Then similarly it progresses by 5th of June. It covers, say, Karnataka, Telangana, that particular part. And finally the last date is by 8th of July only. It covers rest of India, right? So there is almost 1.5 months period. Fine. So this was about the onset of monsoon. Similarly there is withdrawal of monsoon. So withdrawal of monsoon, so onset hit the last at the northwest India. Similarly withdrawal would start first on 17th of September from northwest India, and gradually by 15th of October it would have been withdrawn from most of the India except southern peninsula, because after this particular withdrawal there is northeast monsoon which hits southern peninsula. So that is another story. Now let us summarize. So this is just a summary of comparative dates. So when it comes to onset, we are saying that advance over Andaman and Nicobar Island around 22nd May, right? That is delay of 2 days than existing. The earlier date was 20th May, and now there is delay of 2 days. So we are considering new date as 22nd of May. Similarly, On Bay of Bengal, it arrives precisely on 26th of May, close to the existing date. Again, that is not an issue. Over Kerala, it remains not June, not July. This should be June. So I will just correct it. In Northeast India, 5th of June is the new date. Earlier was the 1st of June or 2nd of June. I don't remember exactly. So delay is there for 1 to 4 days. So similarly, it progresses over central India, and when it progresses over central India, it is getting delayed by 1 to 8 days. So this is huge. Needless to say, this is a significant amount of time. So this is almost week. I told you that agriculture, how a week is important in agriculture, equally it is important in politics. So now let us see withdrawal. So when it comes to withdrawal, around 17th of September we start to consider withdrawal. Now it is delayed by 2 weeks. So earlier our withdrawal date was 1st of September, now it is 17th of September, right? And further withdrawal is much faster, obviously. 20th of September, for more than Rajasthan, Gujarat, so from all those areas withdrawal has already taken place, but these new dates are again, they are 5 days late. So there is a delay of around 5 days. It's fine. Now monsoon completely withdraws from most part except southern peninsula by 15th of October, right? So this is important. And in 2020, actual withdrawal took place by 28th of October only. So again, you can see the erratic nature of monsoon. That was what the question in 2018. So that is why we are discussing these contemporary issues, because there are a lot of issues which keep surfacing in the monsoon topic, as it is that complex. Fine. So again, I have withdrawal dates. So when it comes to having better dates, better prediction of monsoon, what we are going to see. So if we have correct dates, we can have better tracking of monsoon. It will also help us in improving our forecast. Then single largest beneficiary is agro-meteorology, as we have earlier discussed again, and it also benefits to water management agencies. You can plan your summer accordingly. So, and again, industries and mining sector have their own requirements. So that is how onset and withdrawal of monsoon takes place. There are whatever conditions we have discussed them. So I hope this was helpful for you. In next chapter we'll again come up with some contemporary issue, right? Fine, thank you.